Welcome back to Girl Same, the podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Judge.
And I'm Michaela Daniels. What's crack-a-lackin'?
Today we are talking about the fun topic of dating.
Dating is just such a topic. Like we could talk about dating for
Yes.
hours. There's so many different like directions, and I think both of us, Kayla Judge and I, went to a Christian college, and so we very much lived in this like dating like bubble where everyone was trying to get a ring and everyone and da da da. And we lived there our senior year together and with our other roommate, and the three of us were single all at the same time, which was honestly fun
Oh, it
because
was a blast.
no one was like and there was no pressure. We just lived, and I don't know, I loved it. I'd do it all over again if I could, with y'all
Oh my
specifically.
gosh. Oh my gosh, me too.
um I we had buckets of friends get married and engaged before we even finished college, and I had a roommate that got engaged when she was 18 and got married when she was 19. And like, yeah, so my life for the last like 6 7 years has been like dating, like it's been this huge hub because of it started when I was like literally 18 with college. So it's been crazy, and even now like it looks very different than it did in college, but dating is still prevalent.
Yes,
Relevant.
very much a thing. And I feel like my perspective was a little bit different only because the marriage conversation I came into that scene with was, you need to have an established career and, a lot of money before you can even consider marriage, let alone
Mm.
get married. And so I always had in my mind, oh, a sensible person gets married at 28 or 30, because that's what I was taught. And there's nothing wrong with getting married at 28 and 30. But all these people were like, I should be married the week after I graduate college.
Right.
And I was like, that's not what my dad said you should do. And he's usually
Yeah.
right?
He's smart.
And obviously, my mindset has changed a little bit on marriage, especially becoming a Christian. Like, you don't have to wait until there's a certain dollar amount in your bank account or till you have a certain job title, to get married. But it is definitely an interesting culture being at college, and are just around that everyone is like, that's their main prayer and conversation with the Lord is that their husband would find them soon.
I remember I met a girl and I went up to her and I was like, oh, like, hey, how are you? My name's Michaela. What's your name? Blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, what are you majoring in? And she said, I want to be a wife and a mother. What are you majoring in? Like that wasn't the question. Like I was like, like, is this thing on? Like, can you hear me? Like, and yeah. And so, anyways, obviously we don't think that dating and marriage are bad at all. Like they're beautiful in God's timing and they're gift from God, blah, 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 whatever, all the Christian like enter all Christian phrases. But also there is more to life, and there also like is life is beautiful single, life is beautiful married. They look very different either way you swing it. But yeah, Haley Judge, what's your dating life looking like these days?
My dating life, I feel like, has been all over the place for my entire life. Well, entire life. Let's say starting in high school.
That's good.
Let's be realistic about this. I have always had like long-term relationships with people for the most part. So I was not, I would say I wasn't very good at going on dates because I wasn't used to having to go on dates. Like I had gone on a couple first dates in my life. And so most recently, I have a boyfriend right now. And going into, so kind of coming out of that season of singleness, I, with my counselor, were talking about like how to date well. And I was like, well, there's all these, I don't want to waste my time. I'm loving being single. And I was like, so here's everything that I want to make sure that they have going on or that they're thinking about or whatever it is. And I remember she was like, why don't you just show up and be yourself? And I was like, well, myself wants all these things. And she was like, how would you feel if someone came in with a piece of paper to your date and it had a bunch of little check boxes on it and they went through each one, and as soon as you got one or one or two maybe that they had to put an X through for not qualified, they got up and left. And I was like, I guess that wouldn't be too fun. And so, most recently, the first date that I got to implement that strategy on, called being normal, um, I went out with my current boyfriend. So it worked out for me in that date. But some of my other friends have done that on first dates, and it's gone well for them. And they're like, I felt so much more relaxed and comfortable, and blah, blah, blah. And, but yeah, so right now, been dating 7 months. I think 7 months. I'm pretty sure. 7 months, and it's been great. It has been very much not what I was expecting. I think kind of going back to missed expectations type things that we can all wrestle with. You know, I would say the expectations weren't missed. I didn't realize what the expectations could
Mm.
be. Like, I didn't even know this was in the realm of possibility of men in their 20s, because a couple months before this date, I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to date anyone until the men that I go out with are, 26, 27, somewhere around there. So that way their brains developed. Because maybe that's my problem. That's what I thought. So, anyways, all that to say, dating's going better now. You want to share about your dating?
Yeah, so my dating history is so drastically different than Kayla Judge, which is not a bad thing at all. But no, I am currently single, and I have been single my whole life. I have gone out with people, but I have not like actively like I have not been in a committed relationship with anyone, which is really hard. And not no, that sounds. It's not that it's really hard. I think it's hard for me to wrestle. I'm almost 25, and there's just this space that I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with me that I haven't been in a relationship? And literally this week, I was on the phone with one of my best friends, and I was talking to her, and I was like, I just feel like I'm such a loser. And first of all, that's a lie. Like I know that that's not real, but like just being real and being honest, that it's like this space of, I genuinely feel like because my relationship status has never wavered from single, that like there must be something wrong with me, or that there must be something about me, some like defining like quality that is so like repulsive that no one could ever want me. And so anyways, that's something that me and Jesus, like we fight about and we wrestle in, and I have to keep on coming back to like, no, but who is my identity in? Who am I? Because I'm not, I wasn't created just to like be someone's wife or somebody's mom. And I've had this weird thing where I've had multiple roommates specifically get married. And so like I think I've had at this point four, and I'm on my fifth roommate getting married. I have a roommate right now that is engaged, and so like it's just crazy. I had a roommate get married in May, and she obviously left my house and got married, and then another girl moved in, and she's getting married. So, and I literally have had someone one time. I had a girl tell me, she was like, "Man, I should just move in with you so I can get married, because I'm just gonna fund my
No.
husband." And it's like that whole dating theory where people are like, oh, I'm the last person someone dates until they find their husband. I'm like the last person someone lives with and then they find their husband. Like, it's just so funky. I have moments where I like hear about my friends and their marriages or their whatever. And most of my friends have beautiful, like thriving marriages, but obviously things happen. Like life is life. And there's situations where I'm like, I would not trade that. Like, I would rather live how I'm living, the way I'm living. And so genuinely, the joy of my life is being right here. It's being where Jesus has me. And I have found so much joy here. And I have days and moments and whatever and times that I wrestle, and then I like come back and I'm like, no, this is it. This is the life. This is where I like want to be. Ultimately, like if I can glorify Jesus the most here in my singleness, then so be it. But like if there's someone that like can come along and I can glorify Jesus more with him, then like bring it on, like please. Because ultimately, and this is why I want to read The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller, because ultimately the meaning of marriage is not just like my happiness or my making someone else happy or vice versa. Like it's about like, no, me with this other person partnering hand in hand of like going like forward towards the cross for the glorification of the kingdom and of like Jesus. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That is something in particular that I've talked with one of my close friends about, and just talking about how it's not, dating is not to find someone that you can have the most fun with, or that, likes every specific hobby you like to, or whatever it
Mhm.
is. But dating is about finding someone you're compatible with, and that like loves to serve the Lord, and that is dedicated to their relationship with God, and who is interested in building up his kingdom too. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times that's missed, and we can focus a lot on things that just frankly don't matter at all, and they're not going to matter, especially in marriage. Like, if your husband has a six pack when you get married, okay, great. But how does he handle conflict? How
Mm.
does he manage the relationship with the in laws? Truly, do they love the Lord? And beyond, do they love the Lord? Are they pursuing the Lord actively? Because if you meet someone and they're like, oh, I go to church and I'm in Bible study, oh, that sounds great, wonderful. They don't pray, they don't read their Bible, they're not interested in serving, maybe ever. Sure, the Lord can change their heart and these things can happen and they can grow. But like if they're stubborn in that, that's going to be very difficult if you become yoked to that person, because they're kind of dragging along and you're like, "Oh, I'm going after the Lord. You said you're in Bible study. Let's start one together at our house." And they're like, "No, I'm not interested in doing ministry." Whoa, wake up call. Like that's tough.
Yeah,
So anyways,
that's so good. And I think too, like it speaks so much to like your heart of like in terms of like choosing, if you were to choose that over waiting for the Lord's best. Because if you're like, okay, like yeah, he doesn't like really like he goes to church when I like ask him to, but like he doesn't really pursue that, then that shows that like no, you'd rather just choose what's like easy and what's in front of you and like what's convenient than wait and be like, no, Jesus like has someone that's really good and someone that genuinely can meet like the things that I'm looking for, and not just like, oh well, he says he loves God. He said he prayed a prayer when he was 8. That's awesome. Like great, genuinely. However, what have you done since then? Have you done anything? Like,
right?
like there's a big difference.
Yeah,
And I think too, just like holding space for the fact that like singleness can be hard. Singleness has its moment of being like, man, I feel looked over. I feel all of these different emotions, and it's real. And like I'm not saying it from a space like that's my story. I wake up every day and I'm like, okay, here we go. Like this is where we're at. And who else got engaged today? Who else is getting married? Who else is starting a relationship? Like, woo, like okay, not me. But also at the same time being like, okay, but is God still good? Is God still good? And the answer is yes. And like, how do I know God is still good? Because Psalm 84:11 says he withholds no good thing from those who walk uprightly. And so long as I am walking uprightly and walking towards righteousness and pursuing the heart of Jesus Christ, nothing is withheld from me. So I can wake up every single day single for the rest of my life, being like, nothing, as long as I'm pursuing Jesus, being like, nothing is withheld from me. Like nothing, like the Lord didn't forget. He has not forgotten. He has given me good things. I'm living in the middle of beautiful and good things. And like, what are the good things? The good things aren't just like, oh, like he withholds like no like fun trips or like whatever. No, like the good things are like the presence of Jesus himself and the promise of eternity. Like that's not withheld from me ever. And so like every single day I might not wake up with a man, but like I wake up with the presence of the most high God. Are you kidding? Like I'm gonna take that every day. Like
yes.
genuinely, And like one day I'd love to wake up with both. Let's be honest. Like but right now, like this is the best. This is God's absolute best for me. And I just get to sit in that until anything changes, if anything changes. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a good point that you made too, about like just because you're single doesn't mean God's looked over you, or God's forgotten that you haven't been married yet and all your friends have been. Something that I have found a lot of, if you find yourself going on a date when you're not content with the Lord, you end up compromising on your values. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had to sit down and say, hey, he's not a believer. He's not a believer. Like, what's going on? And she's like, well, he's okay that I go to church. He's okay that I'm a believer. He
Like,
thought about
and
maybe coming one day. And then, lo and behold, a few months later, pick up the phone and they're crying. And it's like, oh, I don't know what to do. This, we're not going to work out. And I'm like, I love you and I'm sorry you're heartbroken. But like, come on, ladies.
and honestly, like, yeah, no, like that's just not moves,
No.
like it's not moves, and the thing is too, like, marriage is like, yes, marriage is good and it's beautiful and butterflies and rainbows, but like also like, who is gonna be the person to pick me up off the floor if I have a miscarriage? Like, who is going to be
Wow.
by my side when my parents pass? Like, it's not just like when I'm like picking a person, I'm looking and I'm like, do you have the capacity to like handle all of Michaela Daniels, which is like a lot. Like, like, and there's like, oh, like, is he fun? Like, if he, like, I always say, like, oh, if he can't like bust a move on the dance floor, like, he's not it for me, which, like, yeah, it's probably true. But also, like, I would much rather marry a guy who is so uncomfortable getting on dance floor in front of people, but is so comfortable and familiar in the presence of Jesus. Like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, like that is so much more attractive and desired. I mean, and ultimately, like, I'd love both. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm curious, Kaylee, like, in your life, what do you like? Okay, like, what's good about your boyfriend? Like, why is he worthwhile? And I've met him. I think he's
Wow.
great. He's sweet, sweet boy. But I want to hear from you.
Yeah, he is a sweet guy, and I think that was probably the first thing that I found, the first reason I was interested in him, which I didn't meet him at church or anything like that. We met at the gym,
Crazy.
and I would talk to him every time I was there and he was there, we would talk. And it wasn't like anything crazy. It was, I would come in with a book and walk on the treadmill and read, and we talk about the books I was reading and things like that. And just very non vulnerable aspects of current life. But I think something that first attracted me to him was that I felt like he had this gentleness about him and was just like super calm, but not in a way that was like timid or shy. But he still has like a confidence too. And that I'm really thankful for that was a proper assessment because that is very much how he is. And that is definitely someone that I need. And knowing myself, and I kind of run at a high level of energy, high level of like, I have to get things done. Whereas he's very much like, when's the last time you had a rest day? I don't mean from the gym, I mean like from people, because I will end up putting things on my calendar every hour of the day that I'm awake. And he is very much of like a, hey, pulse check here, are you okay? How are you doing? Have you done your Bible study this week? How are your emotions? Are they going haywire? Type of thing. And so I think all of that to say is his character, gentle, caring, kind, he's also just extremely thoughtful and considerate. Like things that I didn't realize were important to me have become important to me because he does them. It took a while for me to understand all those things about him
Mhm.
and his character, but like being curious and praying for discernment and wisdom, and it's like, okay, I have developed a fuller picture of who this person is outside of my initial assumption that maybe he was pretty good. So,
Yeah, that's so good. It's been cool too. I think just such an answer to prayer, like not just like when Kaylee and I lived together and with our other roommate, we all were single and now our other roommate's engaged and Kaylee is in a serious committed relationship. And it's just cool to see the Lord has just like put his hand upon both Kaylee and our other roommate of just like blessing them with people that like make the most sense. And I have gotten to witness some other people that were not it and that like it was obvious and we knew and we were like, ooh, like abort mission, like this ain't it, like all the things. And it's cool now to see like, no, this was who God was like preparing you for. Like this was what the wait was for. This was what it was all for. And my hope too is that like one day in my life that will be my story as well. And maybe it won't. But the beautiful thing is that like the Lord is kind and he's faithful, and he loves us. And if you're single and you're like, I'm single and I don't want to be, just remember, Jesus is not punishing you. He's not out to get you. There could be a man right now that is for you, that is just now getting saved, that is like literally right now getting like mentored, and men are like pouring into him, and he's just growing in Jesus and needs, like, let him cook, like, give him some time.
Yeah.
Like, that could be the case, or it could just be like Romans 5 something or another. I gotta get my references down. Woof. But Romans 5 says, like, at the right time Christ died for us. And I was talking to a friend like, while back, and I was like, man, it just, like, that dawned on me, like, that verse. And I was like, man, if at the right time Christ died for us, then everything else in our lives that he does is going to be at the right time and his timing. So, like, walk in step with the Spirit, and, like, walk in step with the Lord of, okay, Jesus, if you died at the right time, at the right period, in the right moment in history, then you're going to give me a guy at the right time and the right period of my life. And, like, I'm sitting here right here and I'm like, yeah, like, I think I'm ready. Like, I'm pretty mature. Like, I'm stable. And I think that, like, I'm like, God, what's the holdup, And there doesn't have to be a holdup. Like, the holdup can just be that, like, no, like, I just get to keep on, like, resting and trusting in Jesus and waiting on him and knowing and remembering, like, he's good. His timing's perfect. He's not going to leave me. And yeah, I get to be with him all that is in my life, regardless if I'm single, dating, engaged, or married.
All right. So I was just about to comment on what Michaela just said, which was amazing, all of it. And then our video cut out and we had to take a 30-minute pause. So we're
Yeah, my
back from the
computer died.
pause. Yes. If you're like, the sun looks different and why are the blinds shut? It's because it is now 30, 40 minutes later. So, anyways, here we are, same conversation though. I was just about to comment on what Michaela had said kind of earlier and what she was just talking about, how she saw both myself and our roommate meet and end up in serious relationships. Of course, our past roommate, is now engaged with men who particularly fit us and are particularly good for each of us in, our own unique personalities. And that is something that I learned the hard way for sure, about heeding the kind of wisdom of the outsider of the relationship. So, like, Michaela and some of my other friends had warned me about someone that I had been seeing in college. And I think that happens to a lot of people. They get out of a relationship and then they're like, oh, maybe that's what everyone was talking about. They take half a step back and the picture all of a sudden becomes clear. And so that's just something I wanted to bring up on dating, that your friends, well, if you have good friends, they have your best interest at heart. And maybe you should listen because, at least in my experience, they have been correct.
Boom. Huge. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. That's all we have for you all right now. But yeah, we'll see you next time.